Revealed, how a new secretary's amazing song transformed a millionaire's 20-year frown into joy. In the sleepy suburbs of Maplewood, whispers filled the air like autumn leaves swirling in the wind. Jake, the once charismatic millionaire, had become a shell of the man he was. Stripped of warmth and community ties, he roamed through the giant halls of his opulent mansion with a frown carved deeper than any wrinkle on his brow. After being betrayed by a trusted partner, bitterness wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. Was there room left for joy in a heart weighed down by despair? Enter Mia, his new secretary, full of youthful optimism. Just 25, she arrived armed with ambition and a guitar slung over her shoulder. Her roots lay in the tough soil of a lower middle-class family, which taught her the beauty of persistence and the power of dreams. As she settled into the office, she quickly sensed the shadows lurking around Jake. He was a man living behind walls, a fortress built from hurt. Yet, beyond those walls, she saw glimmers of a man longing for redemption. Each day, Mia settled into her workspace, her fingers dancing over the keys of her guitar. She would hum softly, the melodies weaving through the air like a warm embrace. One day, Jake caught a note floating past his closed office door. He paused. For a fleeting moment, the heaviness on his heart lightened. Was it possible to feel something again? As weeks passed, community events buzzed around them, festivals and gatherings that used to bring Jake joy. Mia gently nudged him, her enthusiasm contagious. "You should come to the arts festival, Mr. Jake," she urged one afternoon, her eyes sparkling with hope. "It'll be fun. Just like old times." But Jake hesitated, fear gripping him like a cold hand. What if he was met with judgment? What if the townspeople from whom he drifted saw through the facade he built? Yet, the more Mia encouraged him, the more the vibrant town began to pulse back into focus. Memories surged, the laughter, the camaraderie, the warmth of belonging. Tentatively, beneath Mia's unwavering belief, Jake began to peel back layers of his self-imposed isolation. As community figures reached out with friendly waves at the festival, the weight of his past failures felt lighter just a bit. Then, as if the universe couldn't stand to see him happy, a smear campaign ignited like dry leaves in a fire. Jealousy roared around him, reminding him of the betrayal that still cut him deep. For a moment, despair gripped him like a vice, crushing the hope Mia had ignited. Just when he faced this darkness, Mia sat down beside him, offering her guitar. "Jake, let me share something with you," she said softly. The music she played was raw and beautiful, capturing pain and longing, resonating with everything he felt. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Time moved on, and the annual community event approached like a storm. Jake found himself standing backstage, heart pounding, fear coursing through him like electricity. He was set to sing a song of redemption crafted beautifully with Mia's help. The crowd, the familiar faces that once looked to him as a beacon of hope, now waited with bated breath. Would this be the moment he soared back to life, or would he retreat to the shadows that had claimed him for so long? The echoes of his past loomed heavy, but in the depths of his soul, a flicker of hope fought to erupt. The stage was set, but Jake felt more like a performer in a circus than a man ready to reclaim his joy. The vibrant lights beamed down like spotlights on a road to redemption, illuminating the fear etched on his face. Each heartbeat echoed in his ears, thump, 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 as he took deep breaths, trying to calm the whirlwind inside him. He stole a glance at Mia, who sat nearby, her supportive smile radiating warmth, urging him to embrace the moment. "Just breathe, Jake," she whispered. "Imagine the faces of those you're singing for. You're not just telling your story, you're giving them hope." Her voice, calm and steady, grounded him. He nodded, feeling the weight of her faith in him. What if he could transform this pain into something beautiful? What if this song could mend not just his heart but others as well? The thought bloomed in him, bright and eager. But apprehension tugged at his insides, reminder of past failures and public scrutiny. The announcer's voice rang out, pulling him back to the present. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to our beloved Jake. The crowd erupted in cheers, but he could barely hear them over the roar of his doubts. With each step toward the microphone, he felt the cold grip of apprehension slacken, if only just a bit. Facing the audience, he took a deep breath, smoothed his palms on the fabric of his shirt, and closed his eyes, imagining Mia's encouragement wrapping around him like a protective shield. They had spent hours crafting this song, pouring their hearts into every note, every word. Now, it was time to share their truth. As he started to strum his guitar, the music spilled out, carrying his emotions in waves. The first lines rolled off his tongue, shaky but building. Memories rushed forth, the laughter of children, the warmth of community, the bittersweet ache of the years lost. Each note was a piece of his soul laid bare. He could see familiar faces in the crowd, the friends who had stood by him and those who had silently judged. Gradually, the initial fear transformed into something more profound, a sharing, a connection. Jake could see tears in the eyes of the townspeople, the pain in their smiles as they recognized his story intertwined with their own. The weight of his past no longer felt like a burden, instead, it became a bridge, connecting him to them. As he reached the chorus, a wave of exhilaration surged through him, pushing him higher. He looked over at Mia, who was nodding in rhythm, her eyes sparkling with tears of pride. For the first time in years, Jake felt lighter, embracing the joy that had been dormant for far too long, but just as he hit the final note, absorbing the applause that echoed around him, a distant flicker of movement caught his eye. A shadow slinked into the crowd, a face he recognized all too well, the partner who had betrayed him. The music faded as adrenaline surged through him again, mixing with confusion. Was this a turn for the better, or was the darkness coming back to claim him? The crowd's celebration was palpable, but there stood the very reminder of his fears, threatening to overshadow his moment of triumph. Jake's heart raced. Would he let the past ruin this newfound light? Would he confront his demons, or would he let them define him once more? In that moment, he had to decide. Jake stood frozen as the noise of the crowd faded into a dull hum. The applause and cheers felt distant, almost unreal. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a reminder of the face lurking in the audience. The betrayal felt fresh, as if it had happened yesterday rather than years ago. He took a step back, his guitar hanging loosely at his side, suddenly feeling heavy like lead. People had come to see him shine, yet all he could see was the shadow of his past casting a dark pall over the stage. Memories surged, sharp and vivid. The arguments, the heartbreak, the betrayal, it all rushed back like a tidal wave threatening to swallow him whole, but amidst the disorder in his mind, Mia's reassuring presence lingered. He committed her encouraging words to memory, clutching them tightly as he fought against the overwhelming urge to flee. She believed in him, and maybe, just maybe, he could still embrace the light. Taking a deep breath, he locked eyes with the figure in the crowd. It was her, his ex-partner, Amy, standing with arms crossed and an expression that blended disdain with curiosity. Time had softened her hard edges, but the scars she left on him still pulsed raw and fresh. Would she come to gloat? To remind him of his failures, he steadied his breath, the familiar grip of anxiety loosening just a little. The music had touched so many souls, why should he let her presence steal that away? The crowd soon surged forward with their warmth, their excitement igniting a flicker of defiance in him. Jake, Mia's voice broke through, her concern unmistakable. Don't let her get to you. You've got this. It was like a rope thrown to a drowning man, allowing him to pull himself back from the edge. He lifted his guitar again, slowly finding his footing. The crowd waited, their cheers silencing as they sensed the shift in his energy. His voice steadied. I want to share something else with you all, a song I wrote about facing your fears. He strummed the opening chords, a new melody weaving through the air like a soothing balm. As he sang, he poured his heart into the lyrics, transforming pain into an anthem of resilience. Each word became a release, each note a step forward. The crowd was not just listening, they were with him, their shared experiences forging an unbreakable bond. As he reached the heart of the song, he glanced once more at Amy. Her eyes didn't carry the smugness he expected. Instead, they reflected something profound: regret. Sadness. It became harder to decipher. Maybe she was struggling with her own demons, just like he was. The final notes hung in the air, and as the echoes faded, Jake felt lighter. The crowd erupted in cheers, their appreciation washing over him like a cascade of warmth. In that moment, he realized something crucial: he was free. Free to forge a path forward, irrespective of his past. But then, just as the applause reached a fever pitch, a small group of people surged to the front. Their faces were filled with concern, expressions of disbelief etched deep. They were confronting Amy now, anger brewing, and suddenly the air grew thick with tension. Jake's breath caught in his throat. What was she going to do? Would she fight back? Would she bring him down again? A chill crept up his spine. He had stood on this stage to reclaim his joy, but now, what was about to unfold could shift everything once more. How would it end? Would this be another round, or would it be a chance for closure? As the scene began to play out before him, Jake had to decide: stand strong, or let fear take hold again. Jake's heart raced as the crowd shifted, a wave of confusion washing over them. The group confronting Amy was loud, their voices puncturing the celebratory atmosphere Jake had just tried to create. He could feel the musicians next to him holding their breath, unsure of what to do. "Why are you here?" one of them shouted, face twisted in anger. "After everything you did?" The weight of the words hung heavy in the air. Each accusation cut deeper for Jake than any sharp instrument could. He had worked so hard to heal, only to find the past crashing back into his life like a stubborn ghost. "Just leave her alone," he said, instinctively stepping closer to Amy. He hardly recognized his own voice, as if it was coming from someone else. Protecting her? Was that even right? "Jake, you can't," Mia said softly, her eyes wide with concern. She reached out as if to stop him, but Jake only glanced at her for a heartbeat before returning his focus to the scene unfolding in front of him. "Stay out of this, Jake." The same voice, filled with fire, was relentless. The corner of Amy's mouth twitched, her defensive posture shifting slightly. It was a break in the armor he hadn't expected. Was she feeling vulnerable? What is this, a reunion or a reckoning? He could hardly figure out what was happening as a sense of panic shot through him. Jake felt torn, caught in a storm of old emotions. Shouldn't he be angry, too? All those sleepless nights filled with doubt, loathing the memory of what had transpired. "Just go," Amy shouted back, her voice rising above the murmurs. The rawness in her tone caught Jake by surprise. It was different from the restrained tone she often used when they were together. This was real. The crowd settled into an uneasy silence, the air charged with anticipation. Everyone was magnetized by the spectacle playing out in front of them. Jake took a breath, feeling the tension around him solidify like stone. Maybe this was a chance for resolution. He hadn't come here to relive the past, but maybe he could finally put it to rest. "Why did you leave?" he asked, his voice steady. The question hung there, bare and exposed. Instead of hostility, Jake saw a flicker of something else in Amy's eyes. Was it remorse? Regret? What she had bottled up was surfacing. "You wouldn't understand," Amy faltered, her cool facade slipping. "Try me," Jake replied, driving the point home. Suddenly, buried emotions filled the air. It wasn't just fear or anger, vulnerability stripped them both bare before this audience. The crowd shifted, whispering among themselves, almost like a living organism, breathing in sync with the charged atmosphere. "What happened really doesn't matter now," Amy sighed, looking defeated but also softened. "But I need you to know something, Jake." I never wanted to hurt you." The sincerity in her voice resonated deep within him. Would she mean it this time? "Our past doesn't have to define our future," Jake said, surprising even himself with his conviction. Mia watched him closely, a small smile playing at her lips. "But what about your audience?" Amy countered, voice trembling slightly. "Can they really forgive me?" Jake felt the weight of the crowd's eyes. They had already forgiven him for all the mistakes he had made. Maybe they were ready to forgive her too. "Let us find out together," he said, his heart pounding with both fear and faith. Around them, the murmurs grew louder. The crowd began to shift their energy, lifting the weight in the air. Would they join him in this unexpected moment of confrontation? Could forgiveness truly be a collective act, a melody that would bind shattered chords into harmony? And as he stood there, ready to embrace whatever came next, he felt a spark of dawning hope. For the first time, he believed change was possible. But just as the crowd seemed ready to rally together, shadows moved in the back, another figure emerging from obscurity. As the figure stepped into the dim light of the gathering, a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Jake barely had time to register the familiar face before all his other emotions drowned under the weight of surprise. "Emma?" he shouted, disbelief lacing his voice. The last time he'd seen her, she was a bright-eyed young woman with dreams in her eyes, leaving town with promise. Now, she stood before him, her presence a mix of nostalgia and confusion. Amy Jake. Emma's eyes were wide, disbelief mirrored in her expression. The crowd hushed, each person frozen, caught between curiosity and concern. "What are you doing here?" Amy's voice came out strong and defensive, a stark contrast to the moment of vulnerability they had just shared. "I came to support. I just wanted to see how you both were," Emma stammered. But it was clear something far more intense prompted her return. The air thickened with tension, as if everyone could sense the deep connections knitted between these three. "Support?" Jake echoed, feeling the cogs in his mind whirring back to the moments they had shared, sweet and mixed with a hint of regret. Emma had always been a well of creativity, bringing life to the melodies they had crafted back in school. He remembered her laughter, contagious and bright, murmurs filled the space again, but this time, they danced on the edges of anticipation. Who would confront whom next? "Did you come to see if we were falling apart?" Amy shot back, arms crossed defiantly. Jake felt an ache for the old camaraderie he once shared with Emma, and now this new tension only intensified his conflict. "No. I mean yes." Emma stumbled over her words, visibly affected by the weight of the moment. "But it isn't like that. I wanted to be here for you all, no matter what." "Why now?" Jake pressed, his heart racing again. Because Emma looked down for a moment, gathering herself. "I've heard things. I knew things weren't great back then. I thought period of absence was best, leaving you to find your own way. But seeing you two together, I realize I never really let go. So, I had to know." A flicker of understanding flashed in Jake's mind. Emma had been part of their shared history, of light and dark. Had she seen everything they defaced from a distance? The crowd leaned in, feeling the pull of past stories wrapped tightly in the present. "Does that mean you've come to cast judgment, too?" Amy felt it, a vulnerability laced with anger, a tightrope walk between defensiveness and openness. "No, no." Emma raised her hands in a placating gesture. I wrote a song. It's about making amends, about learning to forgive each other. I wanted to share it with you both. I thought maybe it could help all of us." Jake's breath caught in his throat. A song? Could a few notes really offer a lifeline in this tumultuous sea of emotions? "Here. Now." Amy whispered, her fierce demeanor wavering slightly. Jake saw the flicker of hope they shared. "It's the only way I know how." Emma's voice softened as she took a step closer, eyes sparkling with a mixture of fear and determination. "Reflecting everything we've lost, yet how music has always bound us together. Jake felt a swell of urgency. The crowd held its breath, collective anticipation swelling like a tide ready to break. He glanced back at Amy, uncertainty dancing within their charged connection. What if they really could find healing in these words, this melody she brought? Could they strum new chords over their chaos, binding past to present in a beautiful note of possibility? Let us hear it, he finally said, the decision settling in his heart like a commitment. But as Emma opened her mouth to sing, shadows from behind loomed larger, their presence suddenly stealing away the moment as serenity. Emma froze, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. The crowd's anticipation crackled like electricity, but the sudden weight of those shadows hovering behind her shattered the moment. Jake turned, heart racing, as a group of unfamiliar figures emerged from the outskirts of the gathering, faces obscured in the dim light. "What is happening?" Amy whispered, her bravado faltering as she squeezed Jake's hand tightly, grounding herself like a ship in stormy seas. That he shook his head, scanning the newcomers. One figure stepped forward, a tall man with slick back hair and a confident smile that didn't touch his eyes. There was something unsettling about him, a presence that felt too calculated, too aware of the drama unfolding. "Emma Harris," he said, his voice smooth but laced with authority. "We need to talk." "Who are you?" Emma's voice quivered, stepping slightly back as if pulled by an invisible tether. "We have business to discuss," he replied, glancing at the spellbound crowd and then back to her. "Your talents are being wasted here in this spewing of emotions. You could do so much more." The words hung in the air, shifting everything in that moment. The crowd murmured again, confused, tension rising like steam from boiling water. Jake's instincts kicked in. He stepped closer to Emma, shielding her, fueled by a sudden need to protect the shards of this delicate moment. "What do you want from her?" His voice was firm, almost demanding, but he felt the tremor beneath. The man smiled, but Jake could see the sharpness of his intentions. "I represent a few opportunities in the music industry. Emma's talent can take her far beyond the confines of this town. She has a gift." He glanced around at the others, dismissing them with a wave of his hand. "But is this what she truly wants?" Emma blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the offer. The crowd had grown silent, caught between the allure of success and the warmth of familiarity. Jake felt a wave of sadness crash over him. Could a single song be pulled apart by the claws of ambition? "That's not what this is about," Emma finally found her voice, each word steady but emulating both challenge and fear. "I came here to heal, to reconnect, not to be swept away into a world where everything just becomes business." The man's expression hardened. "But millions await your voice. You could turn that song into something huge, worth the fame and money. Who wouldn't want that?" Chaos stirred within Jake. The pull of old dreams he thought long buried flooded back, dreams of success, stage lights, and fame. But did Emma truly want that? Did they even know how to navigate it safely? "I want to share my song here, with people who matter," Emma insisted, her voice rising, gaining strength. "The music I create has always been more than a stepping stone to success. It's a connection, with both of you, with everything that's come before us." A smirk flitted across the man's face. "Suit yourself. But opportunities like these don't wait forever." He stepped back, signaling to his companions, who lingered just a moment longer before they turned to leave, the air of urgency drawing away with them. Jake breathed a sigh, a tumult of emotions running rampant as the crowd shifted from electric anxiety to muted relief. He looked at Emma, whose eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a striking contrast to the steel of her determination. In that moment, the barriers of time felt flimsy. It was just them again, entwined in what had once been so simple. "Your song please," Amy whispered, the walls of rivalry gradually crumbling, replaced by something softer, a shared vulnerability. Emma nodded, inhaling a shaky breath, preparing herself to finally break the silence between them with the melody that had forged their past. As she stepped forward to the center, the lingering shadows from before seemed to melt away, but deep down, Jake could still feel the undercurrents of that man's proposition. Could they keep their past safe as Emma stepped into the future? The power of choice lay thick in the air, alive and real. Would Emma's song really be a bridge to healing, or would it open doors best left closed? As storm clouds gathered on the horizon, uncertainty loomed large. But before any of them could contemplate it further, Emma's voice rang out, clear and haunting, and suddenly, the crowd couldn't help but listen. Yet beneath that melody, the question remained, what price would they all pay for the choices to come? Emma took a deep breath, waiting for her heartbeat to slow as she found strength in the moment. The anticipation in the crowd wrapped itself around her, a tangible force that pushed her toward the edge of vulnerability. She glanced back at Jake and Amy, their encouraging smiles like soft beams of light guiding her through the impending storm. The first notes emerged from her lips, delicate and trembling, like a flower daring to bloom in a harsh winter. Each word she uttered was laced with emotion, reflecting the story that had been buried in her heart for so long. As the melody unfolded, the crowd leaned in closer, hanging on every note. It was as if the air had changed, woven together with the music that bound them all. She sang about hope and loss, about dreams chased and left behind. With every rise and fall of her voice, she reached deeper into the audience's souls, pulling out shared memories. Jake felt it, a shift, a wave of connection washing over them. He glanced at Amy, who was nodding along, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. This was what music was, a journey shared among friends, a bridge crossing generations. With each verse, he felt the shadows of ambition begin to fade, if only for now, but just as Emma began to unfold the powerful chorus, a voice broke through the magic, drowning it momentarily. Stop! It was the man from before. Back on the edge of the crowd, his face was twisted with anger and frustration. You're wasting your time on these people. You could be something, Emma. Emotions don't sell records. Reality does. The tension was thick enough to cut as the crowd turned, their fascination morphing into uncertainty. Emma faltered, her voice cracking under the weight of his words. See? He continued, relentlessly. Do you really think they care about connectedness? They want fame. They want success. And so should you. Shut up. Amy shouted, breaking through the murmur that had returned to the group. This is about her, not you. The man laughed, a harsh, grating sound. You're all blinded by sentiment. They won't remember this moment next week. But a record? That's something they will hold on to. Emma clenched her fists, fighting against the wave of doubt crashing over her. You don't know what I want. She yelled, the full force of her statement resonating in the air. This isn't a showcase for your idea of success. This is my life, and I will share it where it matters. Taking a shuddering breath, she looked back at the faces in the crowd. It was time to reclaim the narrative. With renewed conviction, Emma leaned into the microphone, her voice rising once more, weaving through the tension that had knit its way into the air. The melody soared, filling the space where doubt had lingered. She poured every ounce of passion into the song, transforming it into a declaration of her identity and purpose. Jake watched closely as people began to sway, some even closing their eyes, the music pulling them deeper. He saw the frowns on faces relax and smiles begin to emerge, thawing the chill that had been brought by the stranger's ill intent. But amidst it all, Jake still saw the man, never wavering, his anger palpable. The confrontation wasn't over, it was merely simmering, waiting for its moment to boil over again. As Emma's voice swelled in a climactic finish, the audience erupted into applause, cheers echoing off the walls, drowning out the man's scorn. Yet behind the excitement, Jake sensed the lingering shadows, the question of whether ambition would rear its head once more. He turned to Emma, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. This was a fragile victory, a moment suspended in time. But as they shared a look, understanding crackling between them, both knew that the real test lay ahead. Would they stay true to themselves as the world continued to push and pull? As the cheers faded, Emma took a step back, breathlessly exhilarated, but also aware of the storms that brewed in their wake. Where do we go from here? she whispered, the fear creeping in with unexpected strength, and before Jake could respond, the man's voice shot through the crowd once more, unmistakably determined, this isn't over, Emma. Not by a long shot. The applause felt like a warm embrace, wrapping Emma in its fervor, yet the echo of uncertainty lingered in the edges of her mind. Each clap and cheer washed over her, but the man's words still shook her to her core. She could feel the weight of his presence as if he were an anchor dragging her down. Jake stepped closer, his expression serious but intent on offering support. You did it, Emma. You took back the moment. His voice was low, urging her to remember the power she had just wielded. I know, she replied, a tremor in her voice. But, he was right about one thing. What do you mean? Amy stepped in, concern threading through her otherwise buoyant demeanor. Emma hesitated, her heart racing. I can't shake this feeling that maybe I need to think about the what-ifs. About success, record. She glanced toward the man, who stood defiantly at the back of the crowd, arms crossed. His sneer seemed to challenge everything she believed in. It doesn't have to be one way or the other, Jake interjected, his eyes locked onto Emma as if willing her to see his perspective. You can write your own rules. That's what you're doing right now. Emma took a deep breath, letting the words wash around her before they could settle into something tangible. What if the path to success did require some compromise? What if sharing her music meant she had to navigate around expectations? A weight settled heavy on her chest. She wanted connection, but she also craved recognition. To be heard, not just for a moment, but in a way that could carve out her place in this unforgiving industry. The man's anger felt like a mirror, reflecting her own fears back at her. The moment was interrupted as the crowd began to disperse, people chatting excitedly about the performance. Their faces glimmered with appreciation for what they had just witnessed, but Emma felt adrift in a whirlpool of competing thoughts. How could she hold on to the moment while also steering toward a future that felt uncertain? Suddenly, a hand rested lightly on her shoulder. It was Amy, her smile steady against the chaos. You're amazing, Emma. Don't let anyone, especially him, make you doubt that. You blew us all away. Yeah, Jake chimed in. You made a connection tonight. That's what brings people together, not numbers or charts. Emma nodded, but the weight of the man's words pressed heavily. What if the light they saw in her song couldn't carry a career? What if it all faded away into just another fleeting moment? As they stepped off the makeshift stage, the intensity of the crowd's energy faded, leaving behind the hints of something lingering, unshaken. Emma spotted the man moving toward them, his approach slow and deliberate. There was something predatory about the way he walked, confidence radiating from him as he drew closer. Look, I just want you to understand, he called out, cutting through the murmurs of the remaining audience. This industry isn't about feelings. It's about strategy. You won't survive on emotion alone. Jake took a protective step in front of Emma, but she pushed past him, ready to confront this looming shadow. And you don't know me. You don't know what I'm capable of. The man smirked, amusement glimmering in his eyes. Then let us see how strong you really are. You'll need it. Emma's pulse quickened again, anticipation swirling in her stomach. This was no longer just about performing for love, it was about standing firm in a world that would test her at every turn. Bring it on, she found herself saying, confidence gaining momentum. But as he lingered just a moment longer, something flickered in his gaze. Emma felt a chill. If he was riled up now, what storm would he bring next? With uncertainty rushing back in, she turned to Jake and Amy. We can't let him sway us. But deep down, she wondered, how far would she be willing to go for her dreams? Would she really be ready for the battles ahead? As the crowd began to thin, a sense of foreboding swept through her. Emma looked back at the man one last time. There was something dark in his grin that unsettled her. What had she truly just stepped into? The air was thick with tension as Emma stood facing the man, her heart pounding like a drum. She could feel the energy swirling around them, a mix of excitement from the crowd and apprehension from within. He studied her for a moment, and she felt as if he were peeling back layers. Did he see her doubts? Was that why his smirk twisted like a knife? "You're feisty," he admitted, his voice dripping with a sarcastic admiration. "But feistiness doesn't translate into longevity in this game. Keep that fire burning, but don't expect warmth when the industry turns cold." "Who said I was looking for warmth?" Emma shot back, her tone sharper than a knife's edge. "I'm not here to be coddled. I'm here to make music that matters." The man raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Interesting. But remember, it's a harsh reality out there. You may find that you'll need allies, not just passion." "Maybe I won't need your brand of ally," she replied, her voice steady. Inside, a storm raged, her confidence battling against the doubts that whispered in her ear. As he began to step away, he paused, leaning in slightly. "You remind me of someone I used to know. Full of fire. But remember, the flame can be extinguished if you're not careful." With that, he turned, leaving her with an unsettling mixture of courage and confusion. "Amazing comeback!" Jake exclaimed, breaking through her thoughts. Emma let out a shaky breath, feeling the adrenaline rush fade. "Did you see the way he looked at me? It's like he was searching for my weaknesses." "He's a jerk," Amy chimed in. "Don't give him the power over you. You showed strength tonight." "I know, but..." Emma hesitated. Was strength enough? The doubts were back, swarming like angry bees. What if he's right? What if the music I want to create doesn't fit into the box? Jake and Amy exchanged glances, their worry palpable. "Then you break the box. That's how you redefine the game," Jake said, determination shining in his eyes. Emma wanted to believe him. She took a deep breath, focusing on the energy from the crowd, their cheers still echoing in her ears. It felt like a lifeline, a pulse she could hold on to. "I just need to stay true to myself," she murmured, but what did that look like, really? The man's words weighed on her like a heavy cloak. Could she balance authenticity with ambition? As they walked away from the venue, the vibrant colors of the night blurred into a haze of uncertainty. Emma felt a myriad of emotions battling within her: fear, excitement, hope, frustration. It was dizzying. "What's next for you?" Amy asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Next?" Emma echoed, the question spinning in her mind. "Maybe I need to find a way to blend what I love with what they want." But even as she spoke, a part of her screamed against that idea. Could she truly navigate such treacherous waters? The thought of compromise tugged at her heart. Success, but at what cost? She needed clarity, a path to weave together her dreams and the harsh realities of the industry. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, snapping her back. A notification. Her breath hitched as she read the message from a mysterious sender: "I've heard your voice. Meet me tomorrow. I have an opportunity that might change everything." Her heart raced. Could this be the chance she'd been waiting for? Emma exchanged glances with Jake and Amy, her excitement bubbling to the surface. "Who is it, Emma?" Jake asked, eyebrows raised. "I don't know. But I'm going to find out." As they stepped into the night, her pulse quickened with anticipation. Opportunities were rare, and this one felt different. Would it steer her toward the dream she'd built in her heart, or further into a storm? Emma took a deep breath, the weight of unanswered questions mingling with the thrill of the unknown. What could tomorrow hold? The next morning, Emma woke with a mix of eagerness and trepidation. Her phone sat next to her, a harbinger of change. The message from last night echoed in her mind, an opportunity to meet someone who could guide her. But who were they really? She dressed quickly, determination weaving through her excitement. The world outside her window was bathed in sunlight. Birds chirped like a soundtrack promising hope. Could she really step into a new chapter, as she arrived at the cafe where they agreed to meet, she felt a flutter of nerves. The scent of fresh coffee wrapped around her like a hug. Breathing deeply, she scanned the room until her eyes landed on a calm figure seated in the corner, a woman, late 30s, exuding confidence with an air of warmth. "Emma?" The woman called softly, offering a smile that felt instantly welcoming. "I'm Clara." "Hi," Emma replied, swallowing her nerves. She sat across from Clara, heart racing like a drum concert. "I heard your performance from last night. You have a real gift," Clara began. "The way you connect with your audience, the vulnerability you show, it's powerful." "Thank you," Emma said, the warmth in Clara's voice melting away some of her apprehension. "I want to create music that matters, but I'm feeling torn about success." Clara nodded knowingly. "Many feel that way. It's a delicate dance between authenticity and the commercial side of the industry. But remember, your voice is yours. And it can pave the way." Their conversation flowed, full of ideas and insights, sparking creativity like fireworks. Clara revealed connections she had in the industry and opportunities Emma never dreamed could be on her horizon. Yet, there was something else deeper at play. Clara's mentorship was rooted in nurturing talent and passion, not just business. Later that evening, Emma returned to Jake and Amy with a fiery energy. "You won't believe what happened," she exclaimed. "Did you meet with them?" Jake asked, eyes wide with anticipation. "Yes. Clara is interested in helping me. She sees potential, not just a product." "It feels different," Emma shared, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "She actually wants to listen and collaborate." "That's amazing." Amy cheered, her support unwavering. But Emma's heart tugged with doubt. "What if I still have to compromise?" she asked, searching their eyes for guidance. "Compromise doesn't mean you'll lose who you are," Jake replied, stepping closer. "It's about being strategic while staying true to your essence. You can shape your path. We believe in you." His words wrapped around her like a banner of steadfast encouragement. With their support, Emma realized she could blend her ambitions with authenticity. The fear began to lift, replaced by clarity and inspiration. Weeks passed. Emma poured herself into writing and recording with Clara's mentorship, finding strength within her storytelling. The music blossomed, growing into something beautiful, honest and profound. But as the release date approached, tension rippled through her heart. The man from the past reappeared occasionally in her thoughts, a shadow looming. Would she face him again? The night of her first show was electric, a buzz filled the air, and the crowd sensed a shift. She stood on stage, anxiety swirling in her gut. The lights flickered on her, illuminating a space once filled with doubt. Jake and Amy cheered from the front row, their faces radiating pride. Emma grabbed the microphone, and that familiar thrill ignited inside her. Each strum of her guitar felt like home, warming her spirit. As she sang, she felt free, every note flowed through her like a river of healing. The audience was transfixed, completely absorbed, their cheers sparking remembrance of her worth. She sang for them, for herself, for everything she had fought through. Just as she neared the end, a figure stepped forward from the crowd. It was him, the man from before. His face was hard and expectant, but Emma felt strong. She was here, shining brighter than ever. This was her moment, her journey, where doubt held no claim. Taking a deep breath, she locked eyes with him and sang the words that spoke from her heart, a song brimming with resilience and newfound strength. For all the fears he represented, she ignored the shadow. No longer burdened by his looming doubts, she stepped into the light. As she finished, thunderous applause erupted, enveloping her in love and acceptance. The man stood silent, but within Emma, a light bulb flashed. The past held no finality, she could rewrite the script of her life. Jake and Amy rushed to her after the performance, enveloping her in a hug. "You did it. You were incredible." They cheered, their excitement infectious. Tears of joy flowed freely. Emma had transformed, and as her heart swelled, she knew there was no going back. She defaced the darkness and danced in the light. In that moment, wrapped in the warmth of friends and a swelling community. Emma saw the future sprawled out before her, exciting, uncertain, but hers to shape, her music to fill the world. Their voices rang in her ears, supportive and proud, a crescendo echoing with truth. In that harmonious atmosphere, she felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you for believing in me," Emma whispered to Jake and Amy, who smiled back, their hearts intertwined. "Always," Jake said. "We're in this together." And as she looked into their eyes, she understood. This was her song to sing, and the notes would resound far beyond the stage. They were just beginning. Now is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support is what keeps this journey alive. Comment below with your thoughts on this emotional ending, your feelings, and what it means to you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this heartwarming transformation. You need to take part in this community. This is the moment to show your support and keep the magic alive. Don't wait not even one more second.